Shalom. Before I begin, I want to give our praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakwadash, double honor to the apostles and others, great millstone. I want to say Shalom to I can teach this word at the four corners, saying true sincerity. Back on the lesson, to the prayer, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, wouldn't be edifying. All right, unto the elect, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. All right, this word is for the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, because we are the true biblical Israelites, the true chosen people, the true Jews of the Bible. All right, the true name of God is Yahweh, which means He is, or He exists. In the name of His Son is Yahushua. All right, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is the name that we call on, and that's the only name that has been given unto the nation of Israel. All right, the topic of this lesson, it's really going to detaching, from this world, detaching from this life. All right, because we have a better one, to come. All right, we're not looking towards, all right, making it here, or we're not looking towards, all right, being settled. Okay, while this place, it's on its way out. Whatever you can do to, take care of yourself. If you have a wife or children, handle your business, and help the church. All right, that's all you need to do. All right, really. All right, if you go out, you go out. You do what you do your hobbies, etc. But we simple men. All right, at the end of the day. All right, so it's not really, hard to detach. It may be harder, all right, if you have, all right, possessions and etc. But that's why the scriptures tell us, be as though you have it not. All right, the scriptures tell us in Micah 2:10. It says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. So the Lord is already telling us to arise and depart, spiritually, mentally. All right, don't be settled here, because it is, like it says, because it is polluted, it shall destroy you. Like, this is not, it may be, no, it says it shall destroy you, even with a sword of destruction. So if you're not, willing to detach from this place, it's going to cause you to be, destroyed. Because we, the times that we're coming into, all hell is about to break loose. All right, and if you're not able to detach from this place and still holding on, all right, you won't make it. Micah 2:10, I'm seeing what it says in NOT. It says, up and be gone. Up, be gone. All right, with two exclamations. All right, serious. It says, this is no longer your land or home, for you have filled it with sin and ruined it completely. All right. It says, because it is polluted, shall destroy you, and even with a short destruction. All right, so spiritually, all right, arise and depart. All right, we're not saying get on a plane and leave. No. All right, that's not what the scriptures is talking about. All right, but spiritually, mentally, all right, because as you live your day, your life, you're looking at things spiritually. You notice things, you pick up things. You pick up a different mindset, especially when you come in this truth. You pick up a different mindset, because being in the world, yeah, you would care for if you had a nice car, a nice house, and etc. But even those things, all right, it gets to a point. All right, just thinking about it, in essence, you get bored of it. It gets old, and you don't care about it no more. So you have to have that mindset with even everything. All right, because if you do get a nice car, just using a nice car for an example, because you can get attached to certain things. People get attached to certain things, but using those things as an example, all right, of you get nice things, you may have a certain attachment to it, because it's nice, it look nice, it's shiny. It's nice and shiny. All right, but that's not the all and be all, because even Solomon and all his riches, he understood, and he done did everything. All right, well, not everything, but he did it, what he wanted to. All right, and it still was all vanity. And I'm gonna read it here now, Ecclesiastes. I'm gonna start at 1. It says, I said in my heart, go to now, I will prove thee with mirth, therefore enjoy pleasure. And behold, this also is vanity. I want to read this in NLT. I want to read the whole thing in NLT, actually. It says, I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. But I found that this too was meaningless. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do? What good does it? It's like, what good does it do to seek pleasure? After much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched at foolishness. In this way, I tried to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world, I also try to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and by planting beautiful vineyards. I make gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I build reservoirs to collect the water to irrigate my many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I also own large herds and flocks, more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, the treasure of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women. I had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me. And, I was told to Solomon that he would be greater than those that came before him. When he had asked, when the Lord asked him, what did he want? To be able to judge, to be able to be a good judge, to have that wisdom to be a good judge towards people. So I became a greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I even found a great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. And that's ultimately what it is. You chasing the wind. Especially, bringing it to this sense, people that, because Jake like, be like chasing the bag and chasing the bag. But, again, it's like you chasing the wind. You never really catch it. Because you keep chasing that money. You keep chasing that money. And it's all just numbers anyway. And even the thing that Jake chasing, that shit don't got no real value to it. It's all just made up. It's fiat currency at that too. So you really chasing nothing. You chasing worse than the wind. You chasing nothing. But Solomon was using that example of chasing the wind because you're never gonna catch it. You're never gonna attain it. Because it's meaningless. There's no point. It says there was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. So I decided to compare wisdom with foolishness. And man is for who can do this better than I am, the king. I thought wisdom is better than foolishness, just as light is better than darkness. For the wise who can see, or they are going, but fools walk in the dark. Yet I saw that the wise and foolish share the same fate. Both will die. So I said to myself, since I will end up the same as a fool, what's the value of all my wisdom? This is all so meaningless. So he, just summarizing it all the wisdom that he decided to have basically had an experiment, to do, just to enjoy himself. But even through all the enjoying of himself, he saw that it was all worthless, and the only thing that really mattered was wisdom. To have the wisdom and knowledge, because the only thing that really matters in this life, seeking the Lord. All the thing is, everything else is vanity and vexation, and it continues on. That's why. We not attached to this place because it's all gonna get destroyed as well. Just putting in that perspective too. We know it's worthless because we know the end of it. What is a nice car gonna matter when there ain't no fucking gas? What is a nice house gonna matter when Esau would take you out of that bitch and throw you into the camp? And even more than that, what does a nice house matter here in America when this place will get destroyed? So all that is really just nothing. Because even 2nd Ezra 16, reading that 40. So my people hear my word, make you ready to the battle. In those evils, in those bad times, be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So in those instances, we're going to be as pilgrims on the earth because we're going to be on the run. So even the things that we do have in this life, we're going to have to up and leave. That's why it continues on. It says, he that selleth, let him be that he, as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth is one that will lose. He said, he that occupied merchandise, as he that had no profit by it. He that buildeth, as he that shall not dwell therein. He that soweth, as if he shall not reap, as if he shall not reap. So also he that planted the vineyard, as he that shall not gather the grapes. They that marry, as they that shall get no children, and they that marry not, as the widowers. And therefore they that labor in vain. So the jobs that we have, a business, a woman, whatever we have, whatever possession that we may have, Be as though you have it not. All right, because at any day, you know, it can be gone. All right, especially when shit the fan, it just can be gone. Esau take it, the Lord take it. All right, we can't take it with us. All right, that's why, you know, you have that story with Lot's wife. You know, Lot was, you know, on his mission, you know, looking straight ahead. Imagine he kept looking back at his wife. You know, and the Lord told him to look back. He would have turned into earth like a pillar of dust. All right, he just kept on running, had him focused, and the Lord had him like that, keep him focused. All right, he probably was running. He probably heard a poof. All right, a poof, like a drop of dust, and he just kept on pushing forward. That's how we gotta be. You know, keep pushing forward. All right, keep pushing forward. You know, like the scripture says, Matthew. You know, we store up our treasures. Like I say, we storing up our treasures in heaven. All right, the scriptures, you know, it all talks about not being attached to this place, not living their lives unto the death. Peter asking, you know, Yahushua, Peter, you know, telling Yahushua, we have forsaken all, you know, to follow. We have forsaken all to follow Yahushua. So, you know, we know what we shall receive. We're gonna receive 100-fold. All right. You know, Job, you know, going through what he went through. Imagine if he was attached. Imagine if he was attached to what he was attached to his family, etc. You're not saying he didn't love them, he loved them, but imagine him being so attached, he ended up cursing the Most High, right? Putting things in perspective. You have to think about these things, right? Okay, because somebody, you know, people are attached to certain things. It's not wrong. It's not necessarily wrong, right? Because it's natural. You get something, you have an attachment with it. But you have the other side. You have to think about the other side of the coin. Can't be so fucking delusional that when shit hit the fan, you think you're gonna be riding around in your nice ass Benz and shit, or riding around in your nice ass car, or whatever, or you think your business still gonna be good. You worrying about the business or whatever. You know, get your head like that. Like High School Musical, get your head in the game. All right. You know, but the fuck on this.